would you say the bye week went for your team?
Good. We put a lot on them immediately following it from a mental standpoint, and really trying to shore ourselves up. Although not taxing physically, in a sense, even though we practice Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they were off Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And to come back last night in a Sunday, that was a condensed Tuesday, and really take advantage of the opportunity and to start the film review of a UAB UTEP game that was played this weekend. And so I think we've advantaged ourselves, and we'll continue to do so in preparation for Saturday.
What that film show you, UAB?
They're a talented team. They have a quarterback who they ask to put him in position to run the ball effectively. And they have a talented tailback who was a freshman all-conference player a year ago. And they have two others that complement him. They throw the ball as need be, are very effective, although not whopping numbers from their receivers. Very, very detail-oriented route runners, precise, that pick up first downs and allow them to move down the field. A balanced team that runs and throws the ball equally as effective, and a quarterback that doesn't give it to the other team. A veteran team in all sense. I think out of the 11 on offense, 11 on defense, it's 19, 20 that are at least fourth-year players, some being redshirt juniors, others being fifth-year seniors, and in several cases, six-year seniors as well. So they're a very, very veteran team as a whole.
Coach, you obviously have a very young roster. How would you rate the skill progression from a talent perspective since the start of the year for some of these young guys?
Continuing, one that's ongoing. At one point you look at it and you just look at what would be perceived as our youthfulness, and that they are, but with game experience they get a little bit more seasoned, if you will, and right down the core. At one point you're talking about Kevin Davis, a redshirt freshman, JoJo, a true freshman, Brendan Brady, a freshman, Gavin, a freshman, Spencer, a freshman, Tyreek, freshman, Sheldon Jones, a freshman. But that's okay. We, as I said it before the break, our investment is in now, and that's not to push away some of our veteran players. Our veteran players have been outstanding for us in their leadership and the things that we're asking. But every year through a recruiting season, you try to upgrade your roster. You try to go sign, draft, if you will, someone who's a cut above. That's the reality of recruiting, of drafting. You never want to stay status quo. You want to improve your roster. And so I think we're recruiting a different type of athlete. It was much similar when I got to University of Mississippi a year ago, and the Michael Orrs and Mike Wallace's and Patrick Willis. They were young. They were freshmen, redshirt freshmen. But in a lot of spots, they were more talented than some of our veteran players. And so you still have to play some of those veteran players in position because they give you, at times, the best opportunity to win because of know-how. But the progression of your team is imminent right now. The investment of your team long-term is well thought of. And so I think we're a team that have some veteran players in spots that add tremendous value to us. I think we're a team that's very talented but very youthful, that has to fall before we're able to get up and run. And so we're willing to do whatever we have to do first and foremost to win this year. And we're going to play those guys that give us the best chance to win this year.
Frank, you don't have a lot of seniors
No.
Have you ever been a part of a team that is so young? I mean, it's kind of odd, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Because so when when we inherit, we have sophomores, juniors, the Davenports, the Kevin Strongs, if you will, redshirt freshmen, redshirt juniors, sophomores, who are not the most veteran, but are talented. And so you build on those guys, and some have graduated on, and now you have some that are still in position that are key contributors for us in so many positions. But then you start to recruit to a class and classes that allow your roster to continue to benefit itself and the team as a whole. And there's no perfect science to this. And so there's attrition. You miss on some transfers, some get medical, DQ'd. Things happen. And you have to wait the next calendar year to replace them. It's not free agency. You don't get them within a year. And so we've had some attrition by way of graduation, by way of injury, like any other team. But then the reality becomes you fall back on the youthfulness of your team. And so we embrace the challenge. We'll grow from it. We'll be better from it. And this program, this team will be built to last for years to come. It's not a quick fix. We don't have 14 six-year players. We just don't. We don't have, 19 out of 22 4-year plus players, that's starting for us. We're different, and that's okay. That's just where we're at.
How did you see those young guys handle the bye week with kind of a change of pace and outside of the normal routine?
Yeah, you know what? I was so pleased the entire time I was on the road recruiting. You're concerned about that, so I'm calling back. Hey, Amanda, how we doing? Everything's okay? Anything happen? Nope, guys are great. How about class check? Everybody went to class. Injury report, no new injuries. And so that's refreshing to know that you have young men that are accountable, and they're accountable because of those veteran players. Those players that were here when we got here have the leadership skills, the maturity to allow us to go and recruit for the good of the team and know that the leadership among peers are in place.
If I'm not mistaken, Coach Borges was on the sideline last game, and it might have been the first time this season.
Yeah,
Why was that important?
It was important for JoJo. He's a young quarterback that was thrust into a very heated environment in Hattiesburg, and in the midst of a game, to keep him poised, to keep him composed, to be able to talk to him and not necessarily have to go to a phone, that your position coach is right there with you, and he'll take you through these things. We can fix them immediately, and not after series, but immediately when they happen. And so I just thought it was important to try something different. We're at a position that we're gonna experiment with every opportunity that we can to try to garner a victory.
There's got to be some positives and negatives to that. I guess you can't see the action as well when he's down there as opposed to up there.
Well, correct, but someone else is going up there. So Jeff Castle's up there, and he's able to give us a view, and some other coaches as well. And so just roles reverse of who's giving the bird's eye view and who's on the field, but same information is being communicated effectively. So it worked out well. The communication aspect of it, the transition of substitution, we had no issues there. So I thought that part was handled well.
What's it like, I guess, with Coach Castle and Coach Borges trying to, what is their mood or feel on trying to get this offense?
Very much like mine. A urgency. It's an urgency that we cannot continue to wallow down here. We got to go, guys. We got to go. We have to find a way to generate drives, big plays, points, and enough is enough. And so we're creatively trying to find every opportunity to give our team that advantage.
Coach, you played the Alabama Birmingham squad just a few years ago. Had to shut down the program because of finances and that kind of thing. What do you think has been their recipe for getting back so fast after coming back? Have you talked to Coach Clark about that?
Yeah.
What did they have to do to get it going?
I've talked to the athletic director in depth about it, and have had conversation with Bill, but not necessarily so much about it, just as a program as a whole. They have gotten tremendous support from the community, from the city of Birmingham. And ironically, it's not all UAB graduates. It's Auburn graduates, it's Alabama graduates who reside in the city of Birmingham that have committed to their university and their city. I mean, think about what the question you just said, a program that shut it down. You know how dire the situation has to be to shut down your program? But that city, that university has come back with a vengeance, with new facilities, new resources, a great piece in Legion Field, and to totally redo it, to have an opportunity to open up your admission policy to take in transfers without penalty and go shoot your gun. And so they, in their case, it worked out well for them. Certainly that's not something I would ever want to do, but for them it worked out. They're better off now than they were prior to the closure of their football program.
You know, I was wondering about that coming over here, Coach, because Birmingham was in about the same situation UTSA was. Back in the early 90s, I think they started up in 1991. Yeah. But like UTSA, they started from scratch. Mm-hmm. They had their basketball and everything else was set, and then they started football. But this, after all these years, they've only been to 2 bowl games, and this is the first real shot at a conference title they've ever had in 28 years.
Yeah. So
does that make you kind of think? What is it about a startup football, and why is it so difficult to get traction?
I share a story with you guys that I share with the team. I said to our team, once upon a time there was a coach, and this coach had never been a coordinator in Division I football, and he took on a program, and in their first year they had some success. And in year 2, they took a step back, winning only 6 games. After year 2, they hired a new offensive coordinator and went into a season knowing they'd have to replace their quarterback. They did, and a freshman quarterback went in to play. And in year 3, things changed for that program, but only had 12 games under their belt in the first 2 years. And in year 3, things started to change for them. And during that time, that defense for that program was one of the best in the country, recognized nationally for all their prowess, but struggled to get the big play ability and to do the things that they desired. That program, and then I asked the team, I said, name that coach. That's us, coach. That program will be Clemson. That head coach would be Dabo Swinney. And it's not uncommon for it to take time to do it right. Mm-hmm. And you look at Clemson now and Dabo Swinney now, and it's one of the elite programs in America. It is. It's competing in the playoffs and national championships out of the ACC, and even the Tommy Bowden areas. They were not that, but it changed for whatever reason. And hats off to Dabo and his staff and that program for taking it to new heights. But it takes time. And so what happened at UAB is very similar to what happened at so many other programs, whether it's Boise, it takes time. And so to do it right, we can quick fix it, and we can go get signed 21 or 25 fifth, 6-year players and have a good year. But when you want to change a culture, when you want to have a program for longevity, to be built right, I only know one way to do it, and that's to get quality young men and ask them to come in and to do hard things and to embrace it and to get your hands dirty with them and to know that it's not going to be easy and it's not always going to be pretty, and we'll have our spots, but to to build it the right way, we have to get the right type of people. We have to get some type of staff continuity where we can have guys that stay during the duration of time, and every 3 years you're not replacing 7-8 coaches.
That's what I was going to ask, Coach, because I know all of these programs that like Birmingham and Florida Atlantic and International that have been through the startup process. They have all gone through that phase where they get a little spurt of energy, but then it's just the economics of college football that they. The bright young coaches that you have on the staff are just, sometimes you just can't, you can't play with the Alabamas and schools like that when you're trying to keep good coaches on your staff. So you're just going to go through things like that.
Yeah, we were at, Lisa and I were at quarterback club luncheon, and that question came up, and our university, our administration has made a commitment to compete, and we are. And we're very fortunate to retain some of the guys because it could have been worse than what we've had. But, when you lose a guy, in the position that he did to Alabama, and a guy to BYU in that role, and a guy to Virginia in that role, I mean, it's not like they're quitting.
Right.
They're going, our success has opened doors for them, and we're proud of them, and no resentment there.
Like Kevin Strong was telling me, his two position coaches prior to this year are now in the NFL.
Yeah, and so that matters. In order for us to work well together, we have to work together for time. And then we better begin to understand one another, the chemistry, the anticipation of the call, of what we're looking for. And so all that's a part of the building process of longevity.
When you mentioned bringing in young players rather than sixth-year seniors and maybe taking some bumps in the road along the way, is it tough to keep the kids level-headed with that because there's so much transfers and things like that in the NCAA and across college sports?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, we have a couple of junior college players, but that won't be our foundation. Our foundation won't be fifth- and sixth-year players. We'll, at need positions where it's imminent to have a veteran guy or someone that can help our team, we will plug guys in. But I doubt very seriously you'll see the day when it's 15, 17, 20 of the 25. At least, here, while I'm here, we won't do that. That we believe in the investment of our student athletes and developing them in a way that we think is suited for the long term of our program.
But how do you get the players to be invested in that and not look for a quick fix or something easier?
The young player?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's challenging because of all the new rules and policies of if you're disgruntled, transfer. Go ahead and transfer. And so from a societal standpoint, we have to really check our values and what's important to us. And so now the recruitment isn't just talent on the field. What type of person are you recruiting? What are their core values? What are their parents' values? What are you looking for? Do you want to go somewhere where you get a quality college experience, where you're in position and recognize when we say things that this isn't a 4-year decision, it's a lifetime decision, that the next 4 or 5 years of your life will probably set you up for the remainder of your life, and that the people that will be of influence in your nurturing and your development, it's critical right now. And so those type of young men are the type of young men we attract, not necessarily, hey, we're going to win a national championship next year, and if we don't, then you need to jump off board. And so our intent, our delivery is always one that is as such as we attempt to be an extension of what your parents, your guardians are. And that football is one piece of it. But this thing called education, this maturation process into manhood, that's all a part of the full measure of success. And that one without the other isn't good enough. It's not just football. It's all of these aspects that makes this college experience what it is. And so that's our message. That's what we convey. If it was just football driven, then the attrition rate will probably be that much more higher.
I heard you on the radio, I think you said you had 23 spots for this recruiting class. Or
Yeah.
something. Is he still got some work to do left here?
I think we're at 16, 17 commits. Yeah, we have some work, but you know, the board, which is vast in the spring, it's kind of like our 2020 board right now. It'll take up that whole wall, and as the year go down, it's condensed. And so we've identified, and we continue to look, but we know exactly who we're going after. There are no surprises at this point. Guys have been identified. Guys are being recruited, courted, evaluated continuously, academically, character-wise. All of those things continue to happen for us. And so, yes, we have numbers, but we've identified the people in those numbers. Now, we'll have to compete and beat people on them because they're not guys that have no offers. And so, therefore, there's room for a pool, if you will, in case you don't get Johnny and Joe. You know what? We may have to go back on David over here, and you play that game of replacement.
What do you expect for Brendan Brady going forward?
For him to continue to excel. He had a wonderful practice on yesterday. He got his feet wet 2 weekends ago. He'll continue as he progressed to see more time. And his development is one that is critical for the team's sake and for his individual goals that he set for himself. And so he'll get opportunities as this season continues to progress to be in position to be impactful.
At that position, is there anything that's kept Jalen Rhodes from being more productive?
I think Jalen Rhodes hasn't always been healthy. I think Jalen Rhodes is a very talented young man who, along with the team, have experienced the highs and lows and inconsistency of our football team and our inability to throw and catch and to run and to block the way that we desire. I think Jalen Rhodes is a young man who would say to you, I haven't played up to the best of my expectations yet. I can be better as well. He will take that onus, but it's not just him. It's us as a team, and it's affected our rushing as a whole and him individually as well.
How did JoJo look at the back end of last week and yesterday?
Good. Yeah, good. Had a good practice yesterday. Had a good practice last week. A huge fundamental week last week where we were really able to sharpen ourselves up at every position group in preparation for this week's game planning.
Coach, on your running backs, a couple of guys we haven't seen yet this year. Are you expecting that Winnigan or Devin Boston will be able to play this year?
I do not. Yeah, they both are. Winnigan and Devin Boston have injuries that have prevented them from being full go. Anticipate having both of those young men in spring football.
Think JoJo's going to start this week, or see how this goes?
Yeah, we'll see how game week preparation goes. Anticipate him to continue to progress to be in position to compete for the starting job. Thank you, guys.
All right, Frank.
Appreciate it.
Frank.